Hello, friends, and welcome to the brand new podcast, the Stranger Stories podcast. And I'm Nahim Haider. With me, my friend, my brother, Haikel Latiff. And together, we are two strangers. We are combining this Stranger Story podcast where we will talk about marketing, leadership, entrepreneurship, anything that is related to marketing, branding. So tune in and hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of the journey. And Haikel, come and say hi to our audience.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Nahim. I think this is a very interesting channel. We're trying to start an initiative. And our initiative here is to talk about marketing and everything related to it. Particularly, we are interested in trying to peel back the curtain behind what marketing is all about from a meaningful perspective. We're trying to figure out what's the best way to engage audiences, engage customers, engage consumers in a way that perhaps looks beyond the ROI, looks beyond the bottom line, and focuses on what makes sense to people. We're trying to bring marketing back to its roots, which is basically, one of the questions we're going to answer today, I think. And today's topic is, let us begin. What is meaningful marketing and why should we care?
Exactly.
So I think one of the first things we need to ask ourselves is, what is marketing?
Yes, what it is, and why does it matter? So, give us some theory, then we'll drive into some practical stuff. Give us some theory.
Yeah, I think we can try to unpack this and peel away at this, by breaking marketing down a little bit into its essence, which is a form of communication, isn't it? Right? When we're talking about marketing, we are trying to communicate a particular idea, a particular action, right? A particular intention with the hope that the person receiving this information will do something with it, right? And of course, from a brand perspective, from a product perspective, you're expecting them to make a purchase. You're expecting them to follow your page. You're expecting them to subscribe to your service, right? But at the end of the day, you are trying to communicate something across to someone and hope that they will take that action, right? And how do we do this communication is the question that we have to ask ourselves, right? How do we actually make this relevant, make this tangible, make this something that leaps out of their imagination into something that will compel them to actually take that action? Because you can't make people do something they don't want to do,
right?
I mean, I think we can all agree to that.
Yep.
Right? So how do we then convince people to do something they don't want to do, or they're not really thinking of doing, right? And that is, I think, the beauty of marketing, basically. And if we drill it back down to meaning, right, and how we communicate symbols to translate this meaning, so that we can touch our audiences in a way that is more than just giving a product or service, but instead trying to find a solution, trying to give them a solution to a problem that they may or may not realize in their pursuit of living a better life, pursuit of doing a better job, pursuit of realizing some kind of dream or imagination and so on. So I think that is basically what marketing should be, right? Of course, how we see it in real life, as you said, Naim, in practice, it might be very different.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, marketing doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? There is a cost involved. There is money involved.
Yeah.
And as we know, whenever money is involved, things get a little bit gray,
Yeah.
right? The purposes change a little bit. But let's try and bring it back for this podcast. Yeah, for this channel, we're gonna try and bring it back to just put the money part in the back end, because I think what we want to do is we want to put out good marketing campaigns out there, good marketing messages out there, where your goal is to give a solution to everyone's problems,
Right.
whoever they may be.
I couldn't have said it any better, Haikel. Like the way you actually put the whole meaningful marketing I'm giving you kudos. I don't care about the audience, but I'm an audience myself of you, so I'm giving you kudos. And like you said, the medium of communication, and the purposeful, meaningful marketing. If we really actually go back to the essence, right? And I would say the essence of anything you actually ask yourself, like I think Simon Sinek talks about it quite a lot, is why. Now at the same time, why is a very generic question, right? So like you can give anyone, like I want to sell it because I want money, I want to generate profit, I want to do this and that, but at the same time you kind of like, if you take a look, someone like Seth Godin, right? He actually like some attached like meaning to it, right? Like what and how, right? So what it is that you are thinking will make others' life better, right? And how you want to, get in front of them and convince them basically that it is for them, and they are your viable audience, right? And they will care about what you are selling and what you are bringing it to them, right?
Yeah.
Traditionally back in the days we would like have mass media like TV, and it was the competition of just get in front of like eyeballs, as many as possible.
Yeah.
Right. And now you have internet, right? And a lot of marketers is trying to emulate the same things. But the thing is, internet is not really a mass media. It's more of a micro media. It has like chunks of, like you can literally target, and like the audience in Facebook is not really probably not the same audience on the LinkedIn. The audience on the LinkedIn is not the same one in TikTok. So it's very the variation is enormous. And if you try to put your message in front of everyone, right, then it doesn't really convey that symbol of meaning, right? So that actually brings us to like, how can you communicate in a meaningful way? You talked about symbol. Can you actually dive a bit deeper about the symbol? What are these symbol, and what do you mean by that?
I think the idea of symbols is very broad, right? Everything from language to images to music, sound, these are all symbols basically, right? That's something that we attribute meaning to, right? So a particular color, for example, the color red, for example, means prosperity in some cultures, means danger in other settings, right? But that is a symbol that we have given meaning to, right? And we all agree on that meaning, right? So the question now is, like you said, if you find your audience in different platforms, right, there is an ability there to latch on to some of these symbols in order to communicate a sort of message, right? So one of those symbols that we can see in TikTok, for example, as you mentioned, right? All these TikTok dances, for example, right? That is symbolic of something, right? Symbolic of perhaps a mother spending time with her daughter, for example, doing an activity together, a family activity, for example, right? Or there's some meaning behind that you're trying to engage your audiences, right? And then this is a means in which we are trying to combine the communication technique together with the benefits of that platform, right, as you mentioned before, right? And that is one of the challenges that I think marketing has been. I wouldn't say the world of marketing has overcome these challenges, but because the platforms are proliferating so quickly, there is a new platform all the time, and they are always evolving, and that's where you can find different audiences, right? It makes you're always trying to catch up to technology, right? You're always playing catch up to technology, and then the question will be, where is my audience, right? Which brings me to the first pillar that I think is very important for this whole meaningful marketing perspective to take shape, which is know your audience.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think, as you said, Nahim, in the mass media world, it was very easy to get reach, but that wasn't necessarily meaningful. But the thing was that, we couldn't really measure a lot of things, isn't it? We couldn't really attribute our TV ads to sales, for example, to purchases, for example, because normally you wouldn't have only a TV ad, right? You also have a billboard, you also have some kind of flyer, you have multiple things happening at the same time. So who is responsible for what? Most of the time, it's a cumulative effect, isn't it?
Right.
And the pro and con of everything becoming digital is the fact that we can measure, and because we can measure, we start to nitpick at what is the best formula, what is the best solution. And I think when we start to nitpick and figure out, if we have platform A, which corresponds to audience A, we will have a successful campaign. But you're missing out on the fact that, what are you saying? And why should audience A pay attention to what you're trying to say just because you're on platform A?
Definitely. I totally agree. So where do you actually start when you are doing your marketing strategy, when you want to market your product? It's actually for whom is this product is for, right? And I think there is also that's where you start. So you research about audience, what's their interests, their likes, their demographic behavior, anything, right? Particularly in this digital world, now we have this aggregated data, right? Or like whereby you can sort of like figure out the behavior of your audience. That's one thing. And another thing I feel like is missing the overall objective of marketing, right? So we often when we go in any sort of marketing campaign, any sort of platform, we see like people want to go viral. People just it's more that like it's not really meaningful marketing. Rather, it's kind of like interruption and spam marketing. If I'm watching a YouTube video, and you are popping up, I don't like it. I was enjoying whatever I was watching. So knowing like when you can interrupt and where you will find your audience that is comfortable to hear what you want to say, right? And I think these human stuff is missing when you only talks about metrics as KPIs and other numbers on the platform.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't really care about building relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Haikel talked about the symbols. The objective of these symbols is actually have a meaningful relationship with the person you are talking to. Haikel is talking with me. He's speaking English, and suddenly I just started speaking Arabic with him. It doesn't make any sense because our symbol doesn't correlate the medium we're speaking. So I think there is the disconnect. That who is my audience? What's my objective? And how I'm communicating with this person. Right? So and I think that sort of like brings like how should we, like what are the different types of marketing, right? Like what we have, like B2B, B2C, we have different industries, and at the end of the day, if you are a business owner, you want to generate money, right? And so as an entrepreneur, what can I do now at this 2023 where you have all this buzz going around? Everyone is doing content marketing. You have this I don't know, measuring tools, email marketing, CRM, content management system, all these things, AI, ChatGPT, right? So in all these buzzwords and all this stuff going on, as an entrepreneur myself, what should I do? So how can I market my B2B product? How can I market my B2C product?
I think that's a great segue to bring us to the second pillar, I think, of this meaningful marketing, which is knowing your product, right? It's very important to have a starting point, I think, right? And one starting point is from the audience perspective, right? So you produce a solution based on your understanding of that audience. That's on one hand, right? And that could be your product at the end of the day. But this product should be representative of a solution, a representative of a solution for a particular group, for a particular problem, right? Which narrows down then the scope of which where you need to market this product, right? And I think as an entrepreneur, for example, you don't have limitless resources, you don't have limitless time as well, right? You need to create sales, or you need to drive people down the funnel, the sales funnel or the marketing funnel,
Right.
in a significant quantity in order to justify your existence in the world, isn't it? So I think that's how you come up with the idea of targeting, isn't it? And I think this idea of knowing your product is especially important. But I think another perspective that is also very important, I think, throughout this whole thing is to, as you said, objectives, right? What is the objective of this marketing campaign? And we can bring that back to perhaps one of the ways we can bring that to align that is through the customer journey, right? The consumer journey. Where are we disrupting this consumer journey? Like you said, you're watching a video on YouTube and then somebody comes on and with an ad, and it becomes annoying instead of inspiring you. It annoys you basically, right?
Right.
So where is that in the customer journey? Is that part of reach? Is that part of awareness, right? So now I'm aware of you, but I'm aware of you in a very negative way, so that's not very awesome, is it? Similarly, if your objective is to retain, if your objective is to have a relationship with your customer, for example, right, then your messages should be different, right? How you situate your product in terms of this customer's life vis-a-vis the journey that they're taking, right, differs, changes, right? Because a customer that doesn't know your product will need to have a bit more familiarity with it before they can move on to the next stage, like evaluation, for example, right? Whereas a customer is already familiar with your product, right, and you're trying to retain this customer, it's a different sort of perspective because they already know the product, right? Then the question is, do they find it useful or not? If not, how do you fix that from a messaging point of view?
Yes.
Right. And if they do find it useful, how do you keep it top of mind so that they constantly come back to you to solve their problem, right? For example, this applies to any product, right? I mean, B2B solutions, or even like everyday solutions like toothpaste and soap and so on and so forth. These are small consumable products, but how do you make sure you're top of mind in that sense, right? You must have some kind of relationship with your customer, regardless of the value of your product, I think. And if we start to shift in that direction, perhaps we will see less of spammy ads, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think you hit on the right spot. That even things like toothpaste or chocolate, those kind of stuff, like, why should people care? Because there are like so much alternatives. But still people do. People, when they go to a shop, they actually pick a particular chewing gum or pick a particular toothpaste, right? Why is that? And how they actually created that marketplace, right?
Yeah.
And I think one examples I can think of is Coca-Cola, right? How they do their marketing, how they actually spend millions on their marketing campaigns, right? Whenever you think about a hangout with families, when you think about festives, you think about Coca-Cola, right? Same thing. Apple, how actually Apple did its marketing, right? I was watching this video where they were like sort of talking about brands, right? And it's a very interesting data they actually came out with, where they were actually trying to scan neurosignals of Apple user and Samsung user, right? And they were literally showing when the person who's using an Apple iPhone, any bad news regarding Apple, and they actually shows the sign of being sad, you know, which actually occurs within family. It's similar to that. And with the Samsung phone user, it's just not there. You know, rather a bad news about Apple makes them happy.
Yeah.
You know, so the affinity that Apple actually created, you know, with its customer, the loyalty, it's just, you know, a different level. The sort of story they actually told to their customers, you know, the experiences that they gave, right? It's you know, a lot of times we think about content, but at the end of the day, are you able to give the experience? How does it feel like to the person that you're talking with? And there is a possibility of having a relation.
Yes.
Right? What do you think about Apple or Coca-Cola? What do you think about that?
Yeah. I think there are very good examples of how on a mass scale you can develop a relationship with your customer. You can develop some kind of meaningful relationship with your customer. And I think you bring up two very good examples here, because I think it helps us to go into the third pillar that I think is important for meaningful marketing, which is knowing your brand, right? The relationship that your customer has. It's an open question here. Does the customer have a relationship with the product, or does the customer have a relationship with the brand? Because if you have a relationship with the brand, it means that the customer can constantly be engaged, right? You can expand the usage of the reliance of that customer on you. Take Apple, for example, right? You start off with an iPhone, then you move on to AirPods, then you buy an Apple laptop, and then before you know it, you are in the Apple ecosystem.
Right.
You will be on Apple TV. You will be, so this is the benefit of being attached to the brand, not to the product, right? Similarly, when Apple comes up with a new iPhone 14 or 15 or whatever, you are compelled to look at that product, even if your phone is still doing well. I mean, it's still working, everything is fine, but you're compelled to see what's new, because you have a relationship, a meaningful relationship with the brand, right? And that's why you pay attention to whatever they do. You pay attention to the changes they make. You have an opinion about it. And I think, like you said, to see how people react every time Apple has a launch.
Yes.
For a phone or a laptop is hilarious, isn't it? There are people who always say, "Oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread," and there's always the other group going, "Oh, Apple's just it's the same phone, it's just with a different covering, and everybody's just so excited about it." But that excitement, number one, is a good indication of the relationship they have with their customer base. They're very clear on who's their customer base, and they keep hitting the same spots. And at the same time, the fact that people are talking about it, even if you're not an Apple user, it means that Apple has a meaningful relationship to you as well,
Exactly.
because it matters to you.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think
And
behind all these, Apple really understood who is their audience. What is this product is for, and what's their objective for each campaign they actually run. It's I remember I actually sent you this Christmas campaign of Apple.
Yeah. Yes.
Bro, like, have you seen the subtle usage of like the Apple ecosystem in that video? But it's not really about the Apple, but the whole story, it's like it touches your heart.
Yeah.
It's literally playing with emotion. It's not about like buying the iPhone or the Mac just by looking at that ad. That wasn't the goal of that campaign.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. Yeah. And I think Apple is leaning into also a successful sort of association meaning here, right? Association of symbols here, right, between Christmas and its products, right? And that is something we've seen every year from Coca-Cola, for example, right? When they have their Coca-Cola campaigns, their Christmas campaigns, they relate Coca-Cola to Christmas. And if you think about it on a practical level, right, it's cold outside, it's winter, it's cold, you just want a hot drink, but yet Coca-Cola is able to make itself relevant, right, by associating itself with the symbol of Christmas and whatever that represents, right? Either friends, family, fun, whatever it may be, it is now attached itself to that, so that you find Coca-Cola not such a strange concept for the weather, right? I think it's easier from a logical perspective. It would be easier to sell a cold drink in a warm environment, isn't it? Summertime or warm countries, but yet.
And I think looking into these campaigns, one thing I have noticed is that yes, marketing can be a very unidimensional. Like your marketing can be very unidimensional, where you just show your product and you say, okay, this is the offer, and you buy, and this is what these products do, right? There's a lot of ads like that, a lot of things that tech world, B2B, B2C, you will find it. But I think what Apple or Coca-Cola, how they actually differentiate themselves is actually they sort of like show the relationship. So how they became the part of you, of the society. Like when Coca-Cola is talking about this festive, how they actually became part of that festive, right? When Apple is launching their products and they are actually showing this, I don't know, Apple Watch, they're literally telling this professional, how it can make their life better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that sort of story is missing in contemporary marketing. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's basically just get as many email lists as possible so that we can show it as a MQL, marketing qualified leads. We'll put it in our email system, and then we'll shoot email. Just giving them offer or something, and we'll have the open rate, and then we'll submit that to yearly reporting. Right? This is what marketing has become. Like unfortunately, the meaning that basically we are here to make others' life better.
Yeah.
That's what we do. I think that passion is lost. When you look at your Instagram feed, the promoted stuff that comes on Instagram feed, I was like, why would any marketer spend money behind this piece of content, behind this piece of which doesn't have any sort of significance in my life, and I'm seeing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because we're looking at you kind of remove the message or the content, because we're looking at it in a formulaic way, right? Like this guy is of this particular demographic, as a certain profile, and therefore would probably be receptive to this product or to this brand. But I think that undermines maybe what the product was actually for, because we're trying to go for amplification, I guess.
Exactly. And that sort of brings us into the territory of how not to communicate.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with you. I think these spammy sort of campaigns where you're trying to go for impressions, right? I mean, you're trying to, especially from a digital perspective, right? You're trying to hit as many impressions as possible. And unfortunately, even, for TV advertising, for example, it's kind of difficult now, because people are not on TV anymore, right? That people can watch content on demand, so that there's no need for them to wait for your ad to finish and then see what they want to see. You can't force people to do that anymore. It's difficult now, right? So what you get is you get this effect of the YouTube ads, right? Where you're interrupted every 5 minutes with an ad or something like that, unless you buy YouTube Premium, of course. But the funny thing for me is, in the day and age when you should know who I am, and therefore I would expect you to send me the right ad, if not at all, right? You should know what's my tolerance level for seeing these ads. Yet, like you said, it's either these ads are disrupting my experience with YouTube now, right? So YouTube suffers as a result, or two, these ads have no relevance to me whatsoever. I do not find them interesting whatsoever. And how do we diagnose that, right? Is it a failure in terms of targeting? Maybe not, but it is a failure of knowing your audience, of knowing your product, basically, right?
Yes.
Because if you understand your product well enough, your customer will find it useful, or will instead have an inkling to know more rather than to click on skip ad. Right?
Exactly, and of course, there is this knowing your audience is sort of missing. So you can't really be like personalized with your campaigns. So you're just throwing mass content just to get this impression and stuff. And another thing is the rise of boring creative. So the boring content, which is, even if it's useful, I'm not interested. You know? So the way you were telling your story, or the way you were showing your creative, the typography, the copywriting, it's not exciting enough. You know? If if your marketing strategy is get a LinkedIn Sales Navigator, find out whose post is what and who is working in which company, and then shoot them email automated messages, then sorry to say, you will never be able to build relationship. You're just spamming people. You're just annoying people.
Yeah.
Right? So this, I think, post-COVID and also all this digital stuff, this one thing is actually we are losing day by day is like that it's B2B, B2C, but it's actually human to human. Right? And the way you are doing your marketing creatives, marketing copywriting, marketing email, you know, it's not human to human. I can read something and I would literally, like, I don't have any affinity towards that symbol. You see what I mean? We just talked about symbol that I can relate to. And you are not talking in that symbol. So it's not exciting anymore. And you see, like, why mediums, why mediums like these short videos, right? Or the TikTok short videos, or the meme culture, raise, so it's like exponential growth in last 5 to 10 years, right? Why people are relate to this kind of stuff so much, it's about the attention that they actually grab, and that's the most difficult thing at this point in time. So if you are actually coming up with AI generated automated emails that like mass content, right, which is not personalized at all. By personalized, I don't mean hey Nahim.
Yeah.
If your strategy is actually just to find the first name and the last name, then that's not a strategy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Exactly.
I remember you said something very powerful. It's like, I want the companies to go out there and do the job for me and come up with the stuff, right? And I think that's like so I would say far ahead from these marketers who are actually trying to get these MQLs to their CRM system. That they don't really care about what their audience want. They are just talking what they want.
Yeah,
it's not what I want to hear. They are not listening to the customer, and this feedback is missing.
Yes. Correct. Yeah, I think in the rush to have these MQLs and to push down leads down the funnel, right? you kind of you are more focused on what you are saying, and like you said, you're not listening to what your customer is saying. You're not really reacting to what your customer is saying. And I think this is why I think for some businesses, especially when you have budgetary concerns or when you have clear sort of objectives already, it is important to make sure that you have the right targeting, right? Even if it is a small number, right? Even if the quantity is small, but if you have a meaningful relationship with that quantity of people, right, it might lead to better ROI than having big amplification, big reach, a long email databases that you can tap into, but ultimately, your engagement level is just replacing the hello Nahim, but the rest of the message is the same. Then you wonder whether, number one, you will actually get a lead that is actually qualified, or number two, you are actually developing a relationship with this person. And I think for relationships, for B2B, I think is even more crucial, right? Nahim?
Absolutely. I think, see, like the B2C marketing, I feel like it's a bit of attractive because you can with your spam marketing or with your interruption marketing, you can get to hit some impulses whereby they becomes a customer by accident. But with B2B, you don't necessarily have that opportunity, right? Because of the lead time. Right? You can the at best you can do to get someone to click on the demo. Right? But because there is a time gap, I think the opportunity of building relationship is more in here. But what we are doing, we sort of like in today's time, I think as a marketer, it's kind of pressure when you see in the industry, like these companies doing webinar, this one is doing LinkedIn campaigns, this one is doing email marketing. So in order to do everything, you don't really do one thing right. Right? And I think that's also our one of our talking point, that you don't really need everything. Right? And there I remember, like, you gave this and I want to give it to you, that you talked about segmentation. Tell us about this segmentation. And honestly, before talking with you, even I wasn't thinking in that realm. Honestly, I would probably subconsciously think about it. Oh, it's like A/B testing and other things. But when you actually said this, the segmentation part in marketing campaign, that actually changed my thinking of the whole marketing and how I should do the campaigns. Tell us what you meant about by segmentation.
I think this segmentation is a product of knowing your audience, right? Once you understand who your audience is, you'll be able to segment them into different profiles, right? Into different customer groups, basically, right? And of course, you don't want to. Of course, the argument is that if you are too specific, then you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Then, what if you fail? Then you're not going to end up with anything, right? And if time is of the essence, time to convert is of the essence, then you're not going to end up with any sort of sales or leads or whatever. And that's also a problem, right? That's an existential crisis, basically. However, if you are able to segment your customers by a particular criteria that you set aside, right? Perhaps you're segmenting them according to usage, for example. You're segmenting them according to identity, for example. What kind of user groups are you looking at? Are they just families? Are they singles? Are they sports people? Are they interested in culture or whatever it may be, right? Whatever is the leading factor that allows you to segment them, right? That allows you to have a more refined campaign in order to ensure that, if you have a segment, 5 segmented groups, for example, and you aim for 2 or 3 of them, right, in a very meaningful and in a very comprehensive way, there's a good chance that you're going to attach yourself to a group that finds you relevant to their lives in one way or another, right? And this then creates that relationship that we're talking about. And of course, you are not able to do this well if you don't understand your customer, if you don't understand your audience, or you are not able to understand your product at the end of the day. Because yes, your brand is important. Yes, being attached to your brand is important. But at the end of the day, your brand is not the solution. Your brand is a means to the end, but the product itself is what your customer will relate to the most. That will be the most important customer touch point, wouldn't it? And if that customer touch point is irrelevant, then there is no meaning there. And if there's no meaning there, then there's no relationship. And there's no relationship, then you have that customer at best for a one-time customer, basically. And that is also not so good, because you have to constantly acquire new customers, isn't it? And what about your segmentation idea, right? Exactly. So the idea of building that profile, building the identity of that particular customer, imagining yourself as who this customer looks like, who this audience looks like, right? Is, I think, vital to this whole idea of targeting even, right? Targeting is just a product of having good segmentation, which is a product of knowing your customer, which is a product of developing your customer. I mean, the skin and bones, basically. How does this customer look like? How do you imagine this customer look like? And it's not just a theoretical thing. It should be something that you would have seen either in testing or in use cases from other competitors and so on. How these customers look, what makes them tick, what makes them motivated, what makes them relate to you.
Yeah, basically understanding the pain points of the customer, and then you sort of design your campaigns accordingly. By the way, we are talking about the whole customer journey in our one of our upcoming podcasts. So please tune in, and you will get to. We actually go even more details on that podcast about the whole customer journey, the CRM, and other things. So I hope that will also answer a lot of your questions. So moving swiftly on. About just challenges that we have, when we are interacting in this with these platforms. What do you think that the why we are not getting enough engagement or enough impression, or the objective that we want to set it we want to set for a campaign, we're not getting there. It's and I think this is why a lot of the CMOs, they're like losing their mind, but because it's not working, whatever they're doing, right? So we did talk a lot about knowing your customer. We did talk about the fundamentals, right? Knowing your customer, knowing your product. We talked about relating to people, be a part of their journey, right? We gave examples of Apple, Coca-Cola. Like even in segmentation and specification, you literally see even in Apple how they actually target different customers with their products, with the same product, but it's like different sort of campaigns. But other than that, can you sort of like think of any challenges that businesses are facing?
I think that there is always the challenge of ROI, isn't it? Right? I think if we talk about from one campaign after another, I mean, from one campaign to one campaign, I mean, we're talking about return on investment, isn't it? And this is why you mentioned it just now. Objectives are very important, right? I think that there is a mismatch in terms of what you're doing for your campaigns versus what you expect to happen in your campaigns, right? And this is, of course, causing a lot of pressure and challenges. And I think it leads to this kind of desperate situation where you then, basically just start engaging a platform that, might meet a KPI like impressions, for example, or might meet a KPI like click-through rates, for example, but is not really hitting that most important KPI, conversion, for example, if that is part of the objective, right? Because like you said, the CMOs are losing their minds on why things are not converting and why we're not achieving. So we don't look at the conversion KPI. We look one step lower, the impressions KPI, or we look at the click-through rate KPI, for example, right? As a means. And I think that is one challenge that we have, and I guess we have maybe decision paralysis as well, right? Because you have so many platforms at your disposal, right? So many platforms, so many solutions at your disposal. What's the right solution? So now you are paralyzed because you have so many options that you don't really know which option to take, and when you choose an option, I think maybe that it's being chosen with a lack of confidence in its efficacy. So you are, of course, already doubting whether this is going to make it or not, because again, the KPIs are a little bit off, isn't it? But I think the other challenge that you also have is, as you said, the how targeted is the campaign to the audience? How targeted is the product for that audience? Like you say, when Apple came up with variations of the iPhone, right, with the Pro Max and the Pro and the SE and the S and so on and so forth, this is actually going back to basics, right? You're not just changing the message for the audience. You're actually offering a solution that is different. And therefore, the audience understands that they are being targeted, for example, or they have an option that is appears very customized to them. Even though it is more than just, hi Nahim, right? It is an option that is relevant to me because I don't want a big phone. I want a small phone, for example, right? Conversely, we can also look at Coca-Cola as an example, isn't it? Coca-Cola Light, right. Coca-Cola Zero, and so on and so forth. These are different solutions to the taste, almost literally, of the different audiences that they have, right? So they are overcoming that challenge of making sure that they are relevant by actually going back to the product itself.
So basically,
and not just the message.
Diversifying their product portfolio in order to match the pain points of the audience, of the potential customers.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Precisely.
But personally, another thing I sort of like observe is not being able to understand what is marketing. In a lot of these organizations. And at the start of the podcast, you actually said marketing basically it's a medium of communication. The problem actually appears when you equate marketing with sales, right? Can you actually differentiate marketing and sales in a I don't know, layman term?
Wow. That is a very good question because it's kind of used interchangeably nowadays,
yes.
right? Or departments are being couched together, sales and marketing, for example.
Exactly.
Right? I think marketing. I think sales is what it is. Sales, right? It is the conversion, the point of conversion of a customer, right? Into from just somebody who doesn't have the product to somebody who has the product, somebody who doesn't have the solution to somebody who has the solution, and that is basically a very important direct customer touch point that you have, right? Because that is the point of sale basically, and that's why a lot of efficacies of marketing campaigns are attributed to sales teams, when actually before you get to the sale, that's where marketing comes in. I think, right? That's where marketing transmits the message, communicates the idea, communicates the concept either of the product, or communicates the identity of the brand, or is reaching out to the identity of the customer or the consumer basically, right? Or relating to the consumer, touching on their pain points, right? That is what marketing is trying to do, massaging the audience from the beginning to be receptive to a sale. Because let's not forget, marketing is able to communicate a lot of things, but there's very little impact, there's very little there's very little that the consumer needs to do in order to receive this message. There's very little the consumer needs to do to respond to this message. It's very different from sales. In order for you for it to be a successful sales transaction, a transaction takes place. Money is transferred, right? And when money is transferred, it is a sacrifice on behalf of the customer for you, right? To part with their hard-earned money, basically. And that is, I think, a very important difference. How do you make sure that the customer is able to part with their hard-earned money in an easy way? Is the role of marketing.
Exactly.
In transferring that message.
Like spot on. I will even go like even if you take a shop in any part of your area, right? Choosing the area, then coming up with what sort of product should be in the shop, right? What should be the packaging of the items in there? What will be written outside? What would be the billboards? Outside the shop, right? The designing, the interior, everything. These are the nitty-gritty of marketing. And whenever a person is in there selling your sweets, and he knows what is where in the shop, he knows what's the ingredients in there, in that sweet, in that cookie, or in that whatever. That's your sales guy. And that's out, I think, in a layman term, the fundamental difference. So when you actually look at any business, and most of the organization, they actually come up and say, okay, we are actually putting this much money into this marketing campaign, but we don't see any sales. And that actually goes back to the missing knowledge gap. Why this campaign was run? What was the objective of this campaign? Right? And did sales and marketing collaborated? And they actually have this, back and forth information about the knowledge gap, that's in there. If it was actually fixed, then the sales, marketing, and CMO and like the CFO weren't in different section when it comes to the result of the campaign.
Yeah.
Because as a marketer, we know not every campaign is run for sales. It's not every campaign that actually runs for conversion, right? We really have to figure out, okay, in which stage we are talking, we are doing this communication to the audience. So I think it's well explained in terms of what's the difference between marketing and sales. And I think we had to discuss this matter, because one thing I noticed on LinkedIn, the memes and other screenshots, it's like everyone talks about what is not marketing, right? I was like, like if you want to sell and like have a cold call, that's not marketing. This is not marketing. This is not. I was like, then what is marketing? Don't just put these terms. It actually looks like, marketing people just want to get rid of their work. Tell them, go out there and tell them what is marketing and what do we do. Yeah. And that's why we are here. We actually telling you what we do. We do meaningful marketing. We do purposeful marketing. We don't want to do these interruption, spamming. We just want to help business and entrepreneurs to understand that, rather than spending their hard-earned money behind some agency, and all they get is the matrices and impressions and some Google Analytics screenshots.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what we'll try and uncover over the coming season, hopefully.
Yes. And so, if you some find this episode beneficial, then please subscribe and give a thumbs up to this video, and subscribe to our channel. We also have our podcast on Spotify and iTunes, all other platforms. So if you want to go out there and tune in, you're free to do so. And take care, and till the next one.
Bye.